My role is not always to say yes, it's always to say, no, you can do more. We can do more together. I will start from my leadership philosophy because this can help you to understand how I see sales. So my leadership philosophy based off three main principles, which is first of all, trust. I start every single of my relationship with everyone, with every person that I work with based on trust, which means we give 100% trust, and both parties every single day we need to feed this trust to make sure that it's not lost, because I strongly believe that people perform better when they have something pressure to maintain versus the opposite. The second thing for me is supportive leadership. I see my role as the person that needs to empower individuals to be their best and to achieve what the goals that they need together with the company goals, and I'm there to support this. The third part is all about being a challenger versus my team and my individuals. Why? Because I believe that you need to help them to stretch, to understand what is possible versus what is not, and make sure that they always achieve the higher level of possibilities linked to their personal and professional goals. As my role is not always to say yes, it's always to say no, you can do more, we can do more together. So this let's say is the philosophy on how I run my teams usually.
Okay, so trust, accountability, and also being the challenger, pushing your reps to do the best they can.
Correct.
I love that. Okay. And so do you feel like there's differences with people in your sales team who are more A players and B players? Like, what do you think that main difference is?
Yes, you have them. Even though I do believe that in a team you always need a mix of individuals, because specifically in a large team, you cannot only have top people, because that is simply impossible. You need to have also very good average people, and average sometimes is simply good, that do what they need to do and contribute to this overall success on a company in a different way. But usually an A player, for me, somebody that has the ability to dream big, so to see something that other people don't see, is somebody that gets things done. And it's somebody that also knows how to have fun while doing it. Why? Because if you're just overworking and you're not creating a fun environment around you as an A player, you very easily you're going to burn out. So these three characteristics are for me extremely important to an A player.
Okay. And is this something that you look for at the beginning if someone is just joining the company, or is it something that needs to be kind of developed over time?
Yes and no. In a sense, at the beginning, the first thing I try always to look, is this a good salesperson? And that's I do it through a very simple framework, like understanding the skills, the volume. Now explain what I mean by volume, and the will. So the ability of the willingness of this person to work. So what I mean is, the skills is basically something that I can coach on. So if this person, if we divide the sales job, like prospecting, managing pipeline, closing pipeline, very simplified way, is this person able to do it? If I see something that is missed, I can contribute on that. On the second things is, on the will of the person, the attitude of this person. Is this person want to achieve things? Is this person collaborative? All this kind of stuff. This is something that you can help and contribute, but it's extremely difficult to coach, because the attitude that the individual has versus life is something extremely personal. So you can help, but your impact is limited. That's why I'm always very focused on the attitude piece. And the third part is the volume. At the end of the day, in a sales role, you can be the best one, but if you work one day a month, things are not going to happen. So if this person has the willingness to work and to achieve results, of course, with a very good quality of life balance. So I usually look for those three things. And good salespeople are a balance of those three things. While the A-player mentality for me is something on top that I try to see, that extra mile of dreaming big, for example, that extra mile of getting things done in a short period of time that contribute to that big dream, and creating a fun environment around that individual. But first thing, the good salesperson, after the A-player. And I try to hire both.
You try to hire a bit of both. That's really cool. And I know you've kind of touched upon this, but how would you distinguish between like a team weakness as opposed to an individual weakness?
So with individuals, I basically use this simple framework that I just explained. And at the beginning of our, let's say, relationship with the individual, I start to understand this part. But usually I'm quite involved in deal coaching, customer coaching, like on the ground. I like to be extremely involved to understand those different things, to understand what I need to coach on and help on. So I usually do a simple table, dividing, for example, the skills. Okay, in prospecting, you have several things. Managing the pipeline, you have several things. And closing pipeline, you have several things. Customer success, others. And I try to rate those individuals based on the different categories. So I run that exercise to understand clearly the individual from a skills perspective, where I can help. In an attitude perspective, I understand the value. I always define the value of the team and which attitude towards those values that every team member should have. And I try to rate them versus those with different people feedback and work on those individuals. So this exercise, if you expand it to a team level, is going to give you an understanding on where you are at from a team perspective. And the team always comes first, the individual, because otherwise the two things don't work together. And when we see that there are specific things that are a weakness of a large number of people in the team, is where we're going to put our attention to programs of, for example, how to sell multi-year deal, for example. That we found there was one of the weaknesses in our team, and now we're running specific coaching to the entire team for that, versus specific coaching for individuals that I don't know, they don't know how to create enough pipeline through prospecting, their conversion rate is too small, and we're going to help that individual specifically.
And I'd be really interested to figure out who is involved in this process, because I know you mentioned about somewhat you get feedback. Is it from just the sales reps, or are there other people involved as well?
Usually, I like to distinguish the team that you're in versus the team you're on. The team you're in, for me, is the feedback coming from yourself as an individual, myself as the manager, and the other reps that are part of whatever is the team about. So the other account executive, let's say in this case, and this is the team that you are in. But extremely important is the team that you're on, which is usually the go-to-market team. So usually you're talking about marketing, customer success, SDRs, and all the other pre-sales engineer and so on. So those for me are also extremely important people that feed feedback regarding the ability of that account executive to be a leader inside the organization, an individual leader inside the organization.
That's so cool. And do you feel as if there are differences between I would say someone who's been in the company for a really long time as opposed to someone who's just joined?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you always see these differences. Usually people that just join are extremely energetic, are extremely want to do everything. They are extremely proactive. And as a leader, in my opinion, you need to give clarity on what is going to happen next, and kind of canalize that energy towards the right three things to make sure that they focus on what matter most for them to be successful. And that canalization work is extremely important, because otherwise you're going to waste that energy and the individual is going to get frustrated. Usually, if you have clarity as a business leader, they're easier to manage. While people that have been longer in the organization, is extremely important, in my opinion, to focus in their why they're still doing it, why they do what they do, and understanding where they are today, what to do next, and have a clear plan and commitment versus that individual to make sure that those things happen inside or outside of the organization.
Mm. So a common theme, what it sounds like, is you guys follow a really simple framework for everything that you do, and it gives a lot of clarity to you and your A's involved.
I'm a huge fan of frameworks and simple frameworks, because ultimately, what the point to have something complex if other people don't understand it?
Yeah.
Starting from me first. So
Mhm.
let's try to have something simple, understandable, and help everyone to speak the same language and at least know what to expect on or also how we make decisions.
Mm. Could you give me some examples of, say, there's someone who's just joined the company, they have a lot of energy. What would your 3 metrics be to track their progress?
First thing is the ability of this individual to fit in the in the company culture and in the team culture. This is a qualitative metrics. It's usually out of informal feedback received from others, and usually sometimes no feedback is good. When you start and too much feedback, there is something wrong. But that is for
Okay.
me is the first thing, because if you are able to integrate and create a relationship fast with the people around you, I'm sure you're going to do that with your customers as well. The second thing is, for me, the ability of this individual to get things done that we know are important. For example, I'm a huge fan of planning. For me, everything starts with the go-to-market of that given country or the given cluster. Second thing is the territory planning around the given territory of the individual, so that expected is done, and the account planning of the strategic accounts that are strategic for that individual for a success. So that planification summarized in one document is extremely important for me. And if it gets done, is a good metric. And the third part is the pipeline creation. Usually in the first 3 to 6 months, depending on the seniority, if it's an enterprise versus a mid-market, is the ability for this individual to create a quality pipeline in a short period
Okay,
of time.
that's really cool. And do you notice any differences within your framework if you are selling to a specific region, or is the framework does it apply to all the regions and most situations?
I cannot say if they apply it all, because I never manage a global team. So, but I work in LinkedIn, for example. I was leading the enterprise team in EMEA, so DACH, France, and DACH, Spain, Italy, Benelux, so few regions there it worked. In other companies, lead like Latin America, so Europe, Middle East, Africa, and it's still quite working. At the end of the day, I do believe that this simplicity, these simple frameworks work almost everywhere. I'm quite sure in the US, because the US usually are, and the US and UK are usually very framework-driven sales culture. So I believe it's going to work. I'm not sure in APAC if it's still apply, but I'm quite confident it will.
Yeah. Okay, great. And Alessandro, so if you was in a room full of revenue leaders in sales, what's that one question, that burning question that you'd want an answer to?
For me, would be an inspiring conversation regarding how do they see the go-to-market teams look like in 15 years' time.
In 15 years' time. So it kind of goes back to what you said before about thinking big. I like the fact that you think long term. And is there any parting words of advice you'd give a revenue leader who's looking to transform their sales reps or focusing a lot on coaching?
Yeah, I believe that the first thing is trust your employees. The majority of the time they have the answers, and that's why coaching is the right tool to help them to open up, because ultimately coaching is a tool to help somebody to help him herself. It's like instead of somebody that is hungry, instead of giving a fish, is teach that person how to fish, so that is easy for the rest of his life. And he says that is extremely important. Sometimes you need to make sure, you need to know that your people, they know what usually they have inside. If you hired correctly, what they need. It's your responsibility to make sure that those capabilities come out and this individual is able to achieve the results that the company and you and everyone is expecting.
That is really cool. So it goes back to what you said about trust, finding the right person with a drive and an attitude to do better, to do well, someone who has a really good energy about them.